Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Indycar on a wet Wednesday morning here in Bearsden. My name's Gordon Ross, and this morning's programme is largely given over to the events of last night in Westminster. My friend Alison Brown on Facebook this morning announced that the British parties, with their huge majority in Westminster last night, using their English votes for English laws, managed to pass a series of legislation which would allow them to at any time rewrite the Scotland Bill and also to amend or change or effectively remove anything to do with Scotland from the statute books. What this means is that the Scottish Parliament could be closed down at almost any time the English MPs wish, and this is finally, now they're showing their hand, the mask is now slipped off the British nationalist MPs' faces. They're not going to give us a Section 30 order. They never had any intentions of doing so. And the fact that these new acts or these new laws have been passed, and the fact that there is no way that with only a small number of a small number of MPs in Westminster, there's no way that Scotland can defend itself against such a closure. So even before the Brexit repeal bill has been formally brought into law, they have in fact accelerated the process now of stamping out any chance of independence in the next several decades, just by simply abolishing the need for the Scottish Parliament at all. They merely need to pass one more law that says the Scottish Parliament is no longer required and it's too expensive, and they can justify it any way they like, but basically they have the power now to close it down even before Brexit. This really forces the hand, as far as I'm concerned, of the independence movement. We now must do something very quickly next year before things get completely out of control. At the moment, we've been hostage to fortune for a long time, waiting for English MPs and for the Tory party to show its hand and to deal some kind of blow against independence. Now we know what it's going to be, because they have now told us, they've basically said, we've passed a law which means that we can stop you having a referendum and we can stop your parliament from passing laws. We can take laws away from your parliament even before Brexit happens, so we can disempower your entire legislative assembly in Scotland at a stroke any time we like now, and there's nothing that you can do about it in this so-called British democracy, because in this so-called British democracy you're outnumbered 10 to 1. And this is the entire point about independence. We've always been outnumbered 10 to 1, and there was always the chance that they would do this. Now that they've done it, I think the indications are very clear now what the British government and the British parties intend for Scotland. And they intend very quickly to shut down the houses of Scottish Parliament at Holyrood completely, and for the British parties to take control back in London of everything that happens in Scotland. Even the so-called Scottish MPs from the Tory party voted in favour of this last night. The horrible 13 Tory MPs supposedly representing Scotland voted against Scotland last night, and they voted to allow Westminster the power to do what it likes with Scotland at any time it wishes, and we can do nothing about it. So I think it's time now for the SNP to make some kind of response to this. I expect something imminently this week from Nicola Sturgeon on what is going to happen next. But really they're pressing the buttons now, and they are forcing the issue. And they're forcing the issue now because they know the end game is in sight for Brexit, and they're trying to clear the way so that they can get whatever they want done in Brexit without the Scots getting in the way. And the way they do that is to sweep us aside by voting Holyrood out of existence. And a lot of us have been warning about this for a long time, and it seems that nobody was listening, and now they have snuck this bill through. No big announcement was made today. This happened last night, and it's lucky that there's some eagle-eyed independence campaigners online who watched this and knew what it meant last night. So I'm bringing it to your attention today. So anybody who watches IndyCar on a regular basis will know that I try to keep you up to date with news that the BBC doesn't want you to know about. And this is one thing they definitely do not want you to know about. They wanted us to pass unremarked so that nobody in Scotland would notice what was going on. But we have noticed. And I'm warning you now that unless we do something in the early new year, then the whole of the Scottish parliamentary system could be swept away next year before we have a chance to have any kind of referendum about anything at all. So we need to start making our plans and make them fast. And during the festive season, I think we need to all start asking questions of our MSPs, and we need to start asking questions of the leadership of the Scottish Government about what they're going to do about this. This is an extreme provocation. This is the ultimate in the weapons that the Westminster Parliament has at its disposal against independence. So I think we can safely say that Theresa May's promises of a Section 30 order after Brexit were just lies, because there is absolutely no way they're going to allow us to have any kind of referendum after Brexit, because we're not even going to have any political parties capable of organising a referendum after Brexit. That won't be allowed. The Tories are going to sweep us away, literally sweep us away, close the doors, make all of the MSPs redundant, and centralise control at the Scotland office in Edinburgh. So they will have their viceroy in Mr Mundell, who is absolutely the most loathsome man in Scotland, in my opinion. He will be running Scotland by himself with his civil service and getting all of his orders from London, and there will be nothing anybody can do about it. So it's time, I think, now for the gloves to come off. The phony war is over. I think the real war is beginning now, and now we can see what the game plan of the Tories actually is. They're not going to wait until we have a referendum just before the Brexit deal is announced. They're not even going to let us get that far, I don't think. They are going to spike our guns now before we have any chance to file them. So time, I think, that we all started to campaign for independence now. I expect something to be announced this week from the Scottish Government. If it's a recall of the Westminster MPs to Scotland, I wouldn't be surprised. If it's an announcement of a new referendum date much earlier next year, I wouldn't be surprised either. But something needs to happen, and some kind of guarantees of Holyrood's future must be made. Otherwise, we could face the loss of our entire Parliament and all chances of ever getting independence again, at least this century. And I don't think any of us online, any of us on the streets, or any of us in the parties who campaign for independence is willing to let that happen. We do not want to end up like Catalonia. We do not want to end up with armoured cars patrolling our streets and with people being jailed for merely belonging to a party which espouses the cause of independence. We cannot let a dictatorship to flourish in Scotland, because that's what will happen. If Holyrood is swept away, we will be at the mercy of Westminster once again, and it will be a return to the 1970s. We'll be back to hyperinflation, joblessness and powerlessness all over again, and there will be no way out of it this time. So that's me. I've given my warning. Alison Brown, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention this morning. I know there are other bloggers out there who are posting this online as we speak. I want you to spread the news as far and wide as possible that we're now in danger of losing our Holyrood Parliament, and we need to do something to defend it. I'll leave you with that. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.